Well, hello, boys and girls. It's when I feel like 8 o'clock. I'm Pearl of Wisdom, and you're listening to my NHL Pearls of Wisdom here in social distancing time. I'm going to do. I hope you've enjoyed my video so far. I just did a video on the Arizona Coyotes. I'm going to go down through unless I get letters. So I got a letter here from Rocco. Rocco Luliano, something like that. Excuse me if I didn't say it right. From Florence, Italy, saying that I see that you're doing all the NHL teams as a projection for next year, which is what I'm doing. That's what this is. Yes. And could you please do the Toronto Maple Leafs? That's my favorite team in the land. He said other things as well. Also, for all your social distancing, here's some social distancing peace pearls for you. Wow. There you go. There you go. And for those who are new, Helen has made up some my NHL or some pearls of wisdom necklaces. Some more. They're corona free. Yeah, those are the good ones. And you can, if you hit the subscribe button, I will send you my NHL Pearls of Wisdom necklace via helicopter by either Hernandez or Melissa. You can choose which one. They'll send them your way. So yeah, that's just for that alone. You can do that. Another thing people are doing is but be careful. Put on a glove and touch the like button or dislike. If you dislike this already, just go dislike it. That's fine too. But just make sure you're protected. You don't want anybody getting the corona. No, hitting the like button. It's a good idea. Okay, so he wants to meet, and he took the Toronto Maple Leafs, one of the hardest ones. So I'm going to get at it because this is going to take a while. Not that long. I'll try to keep it down as much as I can. Toronto Maple Leafs. Toronto Maple Leafs for next year have a daunting task on their hands. They're top heavy on forwards that play almost all the same type of game, which is difficult, which has caused problems. In Toronto land, the media calls them out on that over and over again. Babcock, their previous coach, was constantly saying that he would like to see that change, and they said, nope, we'd rather change you, and they changed him. So now they have a new coach, and his name has escaped me. It'll come to me. Oh, Sheldon Keefe. There we go. Who seems to be fine with it, but it still doesn't seem to be working. So this is basically what I would do in their situation. Now if you go back into the archives, I did this years ago. Now I do NHL picks and I do more gambling type stuff, but since there's no games, I'm going back to doing this for a little bit, just for fun. Give me something to do. But if you go back, you'll find that I used to do projections and stuff, and they were actually fairly accurate. And the reason why I do well on my picks and all that stuff like that is I've studied hockey my whole life in depth. And it seems that, I don't know, it seems that I seem to do well at projecting what's going to happen for certain teams and all of those sort of things like that, which does well for picks. We have a Patreon, Brian and I, called BPOW. You can go over there and check out our work and see how much money was made before it shut down, which was lots, or just go there for the enjoyment. Anyways, let's look at the roster, shall we? Austin Matthews, 11.6 for the next 5 years. Can't do anything about that. Would have paid him all day. It's a fine contract. John Tavares, for the same, he's 29 years old and signed for $11 million for 6 years. First of all, I wouldn't have signed Tavares to begin with, not because I don't like Tavares, but they already had a cadre there, fine second line center, and Matthews was going to be their captain. I just didn't see the point, and it's starting to be a problem like I figured it would. Mitch Marner signed for 10.8 for the next 6 years as well, which is fine. He's 22 years old. Is actually a contract that you couldn't avoid. He deserved that kind of money, and in that contract, in the end, will probably look not too bad. Don't mind the contract at all. Now that being said, before they signed Marner, I suggested, because they'd already signed William Nylander, or were going to, I can't remember. No, they hadn't. No, they'd already signed William Nylander. I said that it was probably best to trade him, and I hate the idea of trading Marner because I love Marner. But they already had Nylander signed up for actually a very good contract. The next 5 years at $7 million, and he's only 23 years old. Good point-a-game guy. Nothing wrong with that. But if they would have did some of the trades that I was offering up there with Mitchell Marner, they would have got some very good first-round picks, good, solid young players, and had a fair amount of depth and a lot of cap room to fill in spots on their roster that can vary their roster so they could get more grinding type game, which Babcock before him asked for, and I believe he should have got, honestly, but they didn't. Then they ended up trading Kadri, who was the only player that was willing to stand up for his teammates and probably shouldn't have been because he was too small. You notice ever since he went to Colorado, he's not getting suspensions or anything? Because they have players there to do that role. He's too small to do that role. So he was scared a lot. He would do stuff like, if you ever played hockey, man, it's a very tough sport. And if you're the guy to protect your teammates, you better be strong enough or big enough to do it because they can hurt you. So he did a lot of things out of reaction from that. Ever since he went to Colorado, he's fine. Anyways, they picked up Alexander Kerfoot in that deal, which is another player who plays similar to everybody else. He's not a tough player. He's solid. He's a solid third-line center. You can even play him kind of up in the second line if necessary. At $3.5 million, it's not bad for what he is, but for what they need, it's not good. Kasperi Kapanen at 3.2 for the next 3 is great. It's fantastic. You would hope you wouldn't have to trade that contract. He's only getting better at 23 years old. He's probably got more in him. 50-point guy, 60-point guy, fine. Again, plays the same way as everybody else. Zach Hyman at 2.2 is great. He plays a gritty game, but he's small. Another problem there. They don't have much size in their roster. Babcock, when Washington won, said, do you notice how heavy they are? St. Louis, a heavy team. He said you have to be heavy to win in the playoffs. And I don't disagree. There's not too many teams that have done well, like in this era, that have not been heavy teams. Chicago was a heavy team. They had heavy players to wear the opposition down, and Toronto doesn't have it. They brought in Kyle Clifford with the trade to bring in a backup, which they desperately needed, in Jack Campbell, and they signed him to 1.6. It's okay. They got their goaltending set for a while. I'm not going to talk much about that. Kyle Clifford's fine. I don't know what they're going to re-sign him at. Hopefully not much more than he's already playing for at $800,000. That's fine. He does bring some grit. He does bring some grit to that lower level. Now, there is one player that I really like here. It's Pierre Engvall. He is on the grittier side. He needs some work defensively, but he's only 23. He's on right wing. He certainly can play higher in your top 6, which I will get to a reason why that's so good in a minute. Dennis Malgin, Spezza, Gauthier, not much to talk about there. There are restricted and unrestricted free agents. Throw the minimum if you want to keep them. I wouldn't. Why bring in Dennis Malgin, another small guy in your bottom pairing? Look for your minimum guys. Try to find some players out there that have some grit, can hurt people, and can play a regular role in your lineup. I didn't go into much about what they can do there because I've got all the teams to do here, and I got to get 14 naps in. You know, it's got to priorities. So now we get to the biggest problem in their roster. Well, there's a few other players I want to talk about. Andreas Johansson they have on the long-term injury list. Ilya Mikheyev they got to resign. Now, Mikheyev you want to resign for sure. Hopefully they can get him at $3.5, $4 million. But again, he's just like the players that they already have, which is very a difficult thing. But he fills a role in that top six. Apparently, we're going to have to get those grinding tough players in the bottom pairings, like in your third and fourth lines, because they're just not there in your top two. Andreas Johansson is 3.4 for the next 4. He's on long term, but that is because the NHL shut down right now. They're able to do that to give themselves cap room in the summer. All right. After all that, the defense. Here's the thing with the defense. I'm going to try to do this as quick as possible. They got Riley Morgan, excellent. Morgan Riley, excellent for 3 years at $5 million. Fantastic contract. Great contract. Cody Ceci, don't even bother. He's gone. They'll have to fill it with something else. There's no way we're re-signing him. I don't know what anybody's going to sign him for, but I wouldn't even give him $1 million. Jake Muzzin. Good contract they gave him at 5.6 for the next 4 or 5 years. There's your top two. Your top, it's hard to say that he's actually a left defenseman as well. Rasmus Sundin, another left defenseman. Unfortunately, a young guy at 20, they're going to have to give him a shot in that top 4 because they have no cap room to go out and get anybody else. He may be able to do it too. He's a very good defenseman. It's definitely their best prospect right now to fill that role. Tyson Barrie, can't bring him back. Somebody will sign him for 5 to 7. Cal Rosen is not NHL caliber, really, although they're trying to tout that he is, which means he'll likely be playing in the 5-6 next year. Justin Holl, they signed him for $2 million for the next 3 years. It's okay. He's a 5-6. He plays a good role for that. Not bad. He does have some grit, which they don't have again in their defense. Travis Dermott, he's a restricted free agent. I gotta just not give. I trade him. Got to use him as trade bait because you don't need another defenseman like that. So what that leaves them now is Morgan Riley. And then Martin Marincin in your bottom pairing, I guess, but you don't want that really. Morgan Riley, Jake Muzzin, Rasmus Sandin, possibly Travis Dermott, hopefully not. Timothy Liljegren is in the minors right now. I don't think he's ready at 20 years old. He needs at least another 2 years. So what do? How do you fill out this defense when you have no cap room? Well, I'm afraid you have no choice to, at the very least, because I would have traded Mitchell Marner before you gave him the contract. But, and I'm just going to look this up real quick. You have to, sorry about that, I had a little bit of he has a no trade clause, I'm sure. Does he not have a no trade clause? Oh, he doesn't have a no movement clause yet. Wow. Okay. He doesn't have his no movement clause comes in at 2023, 2024. I hate to say it. I'm trading him. The only thing is he's got top heavy. He's making 14.3 now, $9 million next year. 7 and then $7 million after that. If you can find a place for him, I hate trading him, but at $10 million, taking that off the books, you can get a great package of young defensemen somewhere in the league. Quickly looking at where that might be, I already did do a little look at it, but say the Calgary Flames. His cap hit is $10 million. They don't have much cap space, but you can take some cap space back. So you could look at Noah Hannafin, and I know he didn't have a strong year last year, but he's only 23 years old. He's probably going to be solid in the long run. And taking back some of their other Sam Bennett, Jankowski, players like that, and their first round pick, things like that. And then that will give you cap space to fill in that defense. They even have a few players that, Oliver Shylington would be a good example. Oliver Shylington is only 22 years old. He's been showing great progress. He's a puck-moving defenseman. You're not going to be able to sign Barry, so it's not bad to have somebody like that. Eric Gustafsson is a UFA. He's 28 years old. You probably wouldn't have to trade for him. You could add him in the package so you can, work on a contract for him beforehand. But he gives you the same sort of thing. Or Derek Forbert. I think that would be even better. He could play in the top four. He played in the top four in LA. He's only making $2 million. Was only making $2 million this year. You probably don't need to give him much more than that. Something like that, unfortunately, may be the only way. And I was going into this thinking for sure that Marner had no movement clause, but he doesn't have a no movement clause till later on. And there's other teams out there, the Ottawa Senators. You could look at some of their young defensemen, but really they got to make room. And this could also give you capabilities of looking at the free agent market and finding players that's going to give you more grit in your lineup, because it's so essential that they do. You can look at the Arizona Coyotes. They have, if they can't sign Hall, they have players like Lawson Crouse, which would be fantastic. Christian Dvorak up the middle. On defense, you could take Nicholas Hjalmarsson, an older guy, but it'll give you some more depth, more variance in your lineup. Either that or you got to trade Nylander at $7 million, which I don't like because I like that contract for the next 5 years. But something like that, I believe, is going to have to be done. I don't know what Shake is going to do, but if this is like what I would do, if this is talking about what I would do, unfortunately, that's what I would do. And the only reason why I would do that now is because I wouldn't have signed Tavares in the first place. You would have Tavares there, I would have kept Marner, kept Kadri, and I would have had more room to add free agents on my defense and look at trading guys. Like, another thing is trading guys like Kapison and Johansson to other teams for players that can play a more heavy role. And that's what that team really needs as far as I'm concerned. Dubas is a stats guy. He likes fancy stats. He tries to find possession players and seems to be shoo-shooing the idea that you need size in your lineup. And I didn't think it was going to work, and it doesn't look like it is. That's my full 42%, boys and girls. That's all I have to give. Hit the subscribe, hit the bell. Hope you enjoyed the fine programming. I'm off to find my next team to do. Have a great day. Lots of love to you.